Let's speak to SABC News International editor Sophie Mokoena, who is joining us live now. Sophie, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. President Cyril Ramaphosa last week saying that South Africa would be represented at the inauguration. Is he going?
It's not clear yet. We've been able to see some reports that the Minister of International Relations, Ronald Lamola, will be representing South Africa, but we have tried to get confirmation from DIRCO. We haven't received any information. We are still waiting for the statement either from the International Relations Department or from the Presidency in terms of clarifying this matter. But you are correct. That's what the President said on Friday when he was speaking to Samkele Maseko, saying that the country will be represented. What I do know, because I spoke to the First Deputy Secretary General, Nomvula Mokonyane, who is also the chairperson of the ANC Committee on International Relations. She told me that she will be traveling to Maputo on Monday, and I guess she is there on behalf of the ANC because of the relationship between Frelimo and the African National Congress. As you saw in that insert, the Secretary General of the ANC, when Daniel Chapo was in the country just before elections campaigning, particularly the votes from the diaspora, the ANC was there, they hosted him, they joined him, and therefore I expect the governing party, the ANC, to be there to support Frelimo. But in terms of government, it's not clear yet.
Let's talk about the situation on the ground as well. There was violence, of course, following this particular election, and then we saw Venancio Mondlane coming back, declaring himself the president. What's the latest with regards to the protest and him as well?
You know that he did ask Mozambicans to continue to protest. Yes, there are sporadic protests here and there. Some are very violent, but it looks like the government has been able to deploy the security forces on the ground to deter those who would want to join the protest. Yesterday, when members of parliament were sworn in, many people listened to Mondlane's call for a stay away. In other areas, there were demonstrations. But what was a big story yesterday was PMOS SA party. You know that Mondlane was the candidate for that party. Members of parliament taking their seats in parliament, but Renamo and MDM not attending that swearing in. And therefore you can see that something is happening within the PMOS, and you know that they are currently the official opposition in Mozambique. So we don't know when Chapo is in office whether he will accommodate some of the opposition members in cabinet or perhaps in strategic positions.
And it speaks to something you said last week, that it might just seem like he's being isolated, and that's Venancio Mondlane there, that, you know, it may not be as cut and dry to say that this is going to be his path going forward. So if you then have these dynamics within PMOS, it also speaks to the dynamics that are possibly changing, as you said even last week.
Yes, I spoke to Mozambicans. The issue here is that this party was formed by people who were members of the Frelimo party. Perhaps, you know, as people jostled for power, they couldn't be accommodated, and they felt that time is running out and they want to be in charge, because they are saying some of those people are related to the late former President Samora Machel. And therefore, it's no surprise that some of them would want to have an ear with Frelimo, because they come from that party as they try to pave a way towards ensuring that the stability in that country. And Mondlane, he is very popular in that country, he's an academic, and I think they invited him to join them, or he decided to join that party, and he was given that position, or he was requested to be a presidential candidate, but he is not the founding father of the organization. Secondly, apparently has been to other organizations as well, including Renamo. So, you know, when you move from one party to another, the issue of trust does develop in relation to the leadership of the political parties. And I think when I spoke few weeks ago about my observation that when he's in Europe, he is likely going to be isolated when these talks are taking place. It looks like that is happening. But the question here, and perhaps something to watch, is on the ground, because he really looked like someone who was commanding support, but from the youth, particularly the unemployed. And therefore, will that movement sustain its pressure? It's another issue. But unfortunately, tomorrow, the inauguration, or fortunately, the inauguration is going ahead, depending on which side. But what we have observed is that the chairperson of SADC, that is Emerson Mnangagwa, is not attending the inauguration. He has deployed his Minister of Defense. Also, the incoming chair of the African Union Assembly, that is Angola. The president of Angola has decided to send a representative. He is not going to be there. I don't know the chairperson of the organ on politics and defense in the SADC region, the president of Tanzania, whether she will be there, and Tanzania is the neighbor. And we will see who will attend this inauguration in the region. Malawi has already also sent someone, not the president of Malawi. Zambia, it's another country to watch. And if you know the politics of Hichilema, it will be very lucky or strange if he is attending this. Botswana, we don't know. Lesotho, we don't know. DRC, we don't know. And many other member states. But for now, the main role players like South Africa, the main neighbor, we are not clear yet. Zimbabwe, clearly the president is not going. Angola, very important, because this is the incoming chair of AU. In next month, the president of Angola will be the chair of the assembly.
An interesting one to watch, especially to see who is there and showing their support. But there's another story, Sophie, that we even carried in the headlines, and that's the U.S. Secretary of State there, Antony Blinken, being interrupted in his address there, and also saying that there's a deal that is imminent as far as the situation in the Middle East is concerned. Let's talk about that.
Yes, from yesterday we got information on the ground from our sources, both sides in Israel and also in Palestine within Gaza, that the deal is imminent. And it looks like it's happening now. Before I came on air now, I saw that Hamas has accepted the proposals. And you know that this was facilitated by Egypt, Qatar, and the United States of America. Now we are waiting for that formal announcement. As this is happening, we saw Antony Blinken being heckled there. You know that this is an outgoing Secretary of State, and those who are aggrieved based on how he conducted himself in this powerful position in relation to the Middle East question, taking an opportunity to that send off. That's how it ends, and that's power. You can't be there forever, and when you are about to leave office, you become vulnerable. That is why it's important, when you are occupying a very important position in any organization or institution or in government, know that there will come a time where people will look at you and look back in terms of how you conducted the leadership in relation particularly to global politics. We saw that happening with George W. Bush. You'd recall the shoe incident.
Yeah, and Sophie, as you say, a lot is going to be said about their legacies, hey? As you talk about the shoe incident, and I'm already, just taken back to that moment. But it's going to be interesting to see, one, the U.S. president, who's outgoing, Joe Biden, what becomes his legacy as far as the Middle East is concerned. You look at the U.S. Secretary of State, certainly, according to that, that particular activist in that group there, certainly an interesting one. So we'll continue then to look at this and, of course, discuss further. Sophie, thank you so much for your time. That's SABC News International Editor there, Sophie Mokoena.